district, so it kind of wiggles around Cedar, Woolley's and Rick Larson's district. So you kind of just start going east, Lyman and Hamilton, you're back in the 1st Congressional District. So it's a little bit of a strange line, but we have a beautiful, beautiful district and a diverse district, and it has been a great honor to work with all of you and to represent our beautiful district. I also want to point out my staff member who works up here in Skagit and Whatcom County, Carly Dethridge, who's standing right there. It's so important because some of the best things that we can do to help support your businesses are things that are unique to your businesses, and it's important that we hear from you and can help sometimes work through issues. So we have an office in the EDAS building, so right in downtown Mount Vernon. Carly works out of that office, but we're also traveling around quite a bit. But if you have questions or things that we might be able to help you with, or even if you're not sure, let us know, and we'll be able to follow up, or maybe even point you to the folks who might be able to help you solve a particular issue. So if you're not sure, like I said, always better. I always say I can't help you if I don't know what's wrong, so over-communication is always a little bit more helpful. And we've had so many challenges this year in our district. Obviously, the bridge collapse was a huge challenge, and I just want to say thank you to all of you and folks in the region who just came together right away. Just an incredible sense of community while folks helped each other out to deal with not only the bridge falling and the immediate impact of that, but also the ongoing economic impact that it had throughout the region. And having walked through and talked to businesses and working with others as we were trying to kind of figure out what could be done to help folks out during that time when the bridge was down, people were incredible working together to do whatever they could. And that's really a testament to the incredible community that we have right up here in the Skagit. And so I want to thank all of you for being a great role model. We also had the landslide between Oso and Darrington in our district, and another incredible story of folks coming together, helping each other out, doing whatever they could. Many folks from Skagit County coming down to help out there too. So I want to thank you for that, because it's truly been inspiring to see. And while the Upbeat Award may be one idea, just showing how people come together and work together when they need to is another great example. Things that have happened right here that I wish were happening a little bit more in the other Washington. We have been able to get a few things done, and one very important thing for our region was getting a farm bill done this Congress. I'm on the Ag Committee. I'm also the Judiciary Committee. But on the Ag Committee, the one most important thing we can do is pass legislation to help our farmers. And I'd say this is the best farm bill we have ever had for our farmers, for fruit and vegetable farmers, dairy farmers, what we call specialty crop farmers. Just made a huge difference in our region, and really we have incredible economic opportunities in our region around agriculture. I don't have to tell you that. I think the Skagit lives it every day in terms of folks participating and understanding what's happening in the co-op all the way through. WSU Extension, I know there's a big Kook fan back there. I had to figure out how to mention WSU somewhere in the conversation. And so the incredible work happening there on grains and on specialty crop research, and we got a lot of funding in our farm bill to help in specialty crop research to help this region in particular. But there's so much more we need to do, in particular making sure we invest in the Highway Trust Fund, which was where we got a lot of resources to help rebuild the bridge. Things that actually aren't partisan. The Farm Bill wasn't really a partisan piece of legislation. Many people have different views based on the region that they represent throughout the country, and so you saw a lot of people coming together, and that's how we got a Farm Bill passed. We obviously have many other issues, including things like the Highway Trust Fund, reauthorization of the Export-Import Bank, which is so important to many of our small businesses, especially in Washington State, where we're very much a trade-dependent state. And that's what I'm going to continue to push for. If we can pass the things that people actually agree on, we would make huge progress for everyone across our country and for our region in particular. So I know we don't have a lot of time today. I'm going to be around for the rest of the day, but I also want to let you know that it's important to come by our office or give us a call or send an email, or I'm up here frequently. I've been up here a few times this week already, and happy to help out anyway. And if you're ever in DC, the other thing I throw out there is tours of the Capitol or other places that you want to go. Let us know too, because we can help set that up in our office. And always a fun thing to do if you haven't spent that time out in DC. But thank you for the work you're doing. I want to wish you great success, and thank you for letting me spend a few minutes with you up here today. Thanks.
Thank you, Congresswoman Tobin, for being here, your support of Skagit County, and especially Mount Vernon businesses. So thank you very much. I now have the opportunity to let you know what's happening within the chamber. There's a lot of things going on. It's a really exciting time for us. We have a Knowledge Now coming up on Wednesday, September 10th at noon. Attorney Thomas Seguin will be talking about sole proprietor versus LLC. So if you're looking to start a business or you're looking to reorganize a business and you're not sure which way to go, please attend that meeting. I'm sure it's going to be very informative. On Thursday, September 11th, there's an August after hours in Mount Vernon Towing and Auto Repair from 4 to 6 o'clock. Our Eat Local is starting September 27th through October 5th. We have 21 restaurants who provide locally produced produce, so support those. You get more information on the Eat Local. On Tuesday, September 30th, the Community Leadership Event. Instead of telling you about it, I'm going to bring up Kelly Scholes, who is the sponsor from CPI Plumbing. Kelly is a very supportive person of the Mount Vernon Chamber, and basically a really good guy. So tell us what you're doing.
I have a couple things to talk about. The first thing I'm going to talk about is a fundraiser I'm doing. Started out with 3 friends. We're going to do a hike in the Chuckanut Mountain Range, and turned into, we're kicking off the Cardiac Care Center Rehabilitation fundraiser. I don't know if anybody knows, but the Cardiac Care Center Rehabilitation Center right now at the hospital is in 400 square foot. They're going to do a remodel. It's going to cost $500,000. We're kicking off a fundraiser. There's a flyer over there if anybody's interested. This is going to be an ongoing thing. This year, there's just 4 of us that are going to do it. We're going to hike 7 lakes in 7 hours in the Chuckanut Mountain Range. It's 20 miles that we're going to hike in less than 7 hours. Wow. We're doing that to bring awareness to cardiac care.
Excuse me, I'll get a little emotional here. This started out as just a fundraiser with 3 guys going out hiking. What it's morphed into is my wife passed away 2 years ago. I have committed to raise $100,000 to name the Cardiac Care Center after my wife. So that's part of this fundraiser. This will be a continued thing for the next 5 years to raise that $100,000. Next year we're inviting people to do it with us, to go hike with us. It won't be a timed event like this year because a lot of people won't be able to do that. I'm hoping we can do it too. Okay? So if anybody's interested in joining this next year or helping sponsor it this year, there's flyers back there on the table. And it kind of ties into the second thing that I want to talk about. When my wife passed away, I was struggling to get back to the business. I didn't know how to get back. I lost focus, everything. I hired a business coach and consultant to help me. Best thing I ever did in my life. Okay? I became really good friends with him. He comes up here a couple times a year and helps me, trains my guys, works with me. I asked him to come up September 30th and do a keynote speech. He's one of the most phenomenal people I've ever seen on stage. He toured with Les Brown for about a year doing motivational speaking. He's a business coach, consultant, has a published book, 6 Dimensions of Change, which I've read. My 2 favorite books I've ever read are 6 Dimensions of Change and Brad Worthley's book sitting over there. So if you have not bought it, I highly recommend you do. But on September 30th, Kenny's coming. He's going to be at McIntyre Hall,
Tickets are on sale now, and I want to thank the Chamber, EDASC, and Skagit Publishing to help me put this event on. Don't miss it. He's so phenomenal, it's incredible. I cannot tell you how good he is. And he's helped me tremendously to regain focus, direction, and move forward. So thank you.
If you'd like some more information on the event, it's on our Chamber website. The Chamber has tickets that we'll be selling, so you can contact the Chamber for that. And thank you for everything you've done. Appreciate it. Our next event, I'm close to this one, is the Skagit Wine and Beer Festival. It's Saturday, November 22nd. It will be in this building. And I mean in the building. We'll be in here, we'll be in the other rooms, we're going to fill the place up. This year, it seems like every year we add something. This year we're adding distilleries. So we're going to have wine, we're going to have beer, we're going to have distilleries, we're going to have restaurants, chocolate, cheese, it goes on and on. We have live music. So mark that day down. There's still sponsorships available. If you want to sponsor, talk to Karen. We have volunteer opportunities also available. Susan Cooper is our volunteer coordinator. So just visit with Susan, send her an email, and let her know that you're interested. It's going to be a great event. It's going to be from 3 to 8 p.m. here. The place will be rocking. It has the last 2 years. The other thing I want to talk about today is the CEO search. Just let everybody know the committee's been working very hard on this. We're down to our finalist. Hopefully, at this meeting next month, I'll be introducing our new CEO. So we're getting close, and we're excited. We've got very good candidates, and we know we're going to have a very good leader here very soon. Okay, so now our guest speaker for the day, Mr. Brad Worthley. He is an internationally acclaimed expert in customer service, leadership, and motivation. He is an accomplished consultant and behavior change specialist with over 40 years of service culture, personal development, leadership, and development experience. He has owned a business consulting firm in Bellevue for the last 24 years. He's written 4 books, produced numerous training DVDs and CDs, and as Kelly said, he's got a fantastic book over there. His mission, helping organizations create a service culture, a place where employees love to work and customers love to do business. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Brad Worthley.
Thank you. Thanks for your kind words, too. I really appreciate that. Very, very nice of you. I really appreciate the invitation. I get to come up at least once a year and speak, which I really do appreciate. I always try to fit into your community, which is why I wore a suit and pink shirt. So we're going to talk today. I've got a 90-minute presentation today that I'm going to be doing for you in 45 minutes, so I'm going to be moving along incredibly swift. And it is called How to Create and Sustain a Service Culture, which is, by the way, also a sales culture. When I talk about customer service, I believe that sales and service are a single process. I believe if you serve your customers, your guests, your clients, then it translates into a greater opportunity in terms of sales. So you rarely hear me use the word sales. I just talk about it in terms of service. Jeremy, you here too, to be able to yeah, it's already there. It just needs to be moved up a little bit. And again, I know a lot of you have heard me speak before. I know Barry. This is Barry's 337th time he's heard me speak, and that's this year alone, actually. So. But I wrote 4 books. My first book was called Exceeding Customer Expectation. I wrote this over 10 years ago. The whole intent of this book is, it's not what we simply just do for our customers that makes them happy. It's the things that they don't expect is where we drive our business. If you want advocates, if you want people to support and talk about your business and drive traffic to you, you must do what they expect and then do one thing they do not expect. And that's all of a sudden when your business takes off. There is no greater advertising than the stuff that comes out of your friend's mouth. We don't trust a lot of advertising on the radio, TV, or whatever it is, but we do trust when we have friends tell us how great it is. I also wrote my second book called Speaking of Success, and this is about leadership and success. I wrote it in conjunction with Stephen Covey. You've heard him before? 7 Habits. Jack Canfield wrote the Chicken Soup books too. Tired of these guys riding my coattails, to be honest with you. Also, my third book, which you was talking about earlier, Simple Steps to an Extraordinary Career in Life. And this is all about that inner saboteur that we all have. Every one of us does. Every time you go to take some emotional risk, you hear this voice in your head that goes, but what if you fail? What if it doesn't work out? That'll be embarrassing. That little thing causes us tremendous amount of grief in our life. It keeps us from greatness. And so this is a phenomenal book. My newest book just came out. It's called ADD is a Gift, not a disorder. And if you don't have it, you should get it. If you haven't figured it out by now, I am very ADD, so please keep shiny objects and squirrels away from me because I'm easily distracted. So let's go ahead and talk about how to sustain a service culture. And by the way, there are handouts. Thank you so much. There are handouts on some of the tables out there if you wanted to follow along, but you do not have to by any circumstance. You know, I find that some of us are so busy working in our business that we don't take the time to work on our business. Does that make sense to everybody? Even if you're a one-person operation, or if you've got 100 employees, every single year, please take the time to sit down and work on your business. It takes no more than 2 days normally. For most of you, it takes 1 day. I've had large organizations, again, it took 2 days. Right now, I'm a two-person operation, my wife and I. We've sold our other companies. We don't have any employees. But the two of us sit down every single year, and we strategically plan how we're going to be successful next year and what our sales goals are. The biggest challenge most of us has is we minimize ourselves. We set goals that we believe we can hit, not the ones we want. How familiar does that sound, everybody? I set sales goals for myself. I go to my wife, I say, well, here it is, this is what I want to do this next year. She goes, where'd you get that number at? I said, well, I think I can hit it. She goes, what do you really want? And I said, I want this number. She goes, then that's what we're going for. I've hit it every year except 2009 and 2010. But other than that, over 24 years, I hit my goals. I set a really incredibly lofty goal for 2014 that I truly, almost myself, thought was unattainable. And I'm on track to hit it. Only because it was strategic. And that's what I'm asking you to think about. Take that time. Get away from the phones. Get off site. And simply stop and think about your business, about how you're going to get there. I hope is not a strategic plan. Trust me. Let's talk about the profit chain. Because the profit chain impacts us in so many ways. We as leaders impact profitability by the decisions we make financially, but we also impact profitability in a way you may not be thinking about. There's a lot of organizations that have done research for themselves. A lot of retailers, S.M.A.R.T's done it. There's a lot of rental car companies. They went out to every single one of their locations throughout the United States, and they did employee surveys, employee advocacy surveys. They also at the same time did customer advocacy surveys. They wanted to see how happy their customers are. They also did profitability studies on each and every location. And what they came out with, they found out that the locations that had the highest employee advocacy also had the highest customer advocacy, and they were also the most profitable in their organization. However, if you're going to have employees who love their job, who's responsible for that? Leaders, we are in this room. Here's the profit chain as I know it to be true. Great leaders, not managers by the way, but great leaders who understand their role equals high employee advocacy, it's high customer advocacy equals high profitability. Why do you think I use the word advocacy up here instead of satisfaction? Because many of you say we want greater customer satisfaction. What's the difference between satisfaction and advocacy? The promoting part of it. Yeah. Customers
to advocate for you actually bring in additional customers.
Fabulous. Exactly true. See, if customers walk out satisfied, if I come into your restaurant and I walk out full, I am satisfied because I'm full. But if I didn't have a great interaction with one of you, it's useless. I'm not going to tell anybody about it. That doesn't grow your business. But when I walk out and I'm an advocate, I will not only walk out full, I become more loyal to you, but I also tell everybody else about how great you are. That is when your business all of a sudden becomes successful. Back to my point about the book is that I want you to think, every single person you interact with, every single customer, every single guest, what are you doing to be memorable? And not just memorable, but doing something that they go, wow, that's never happened before. But that's again part of memorable. The profit chain is very important because you need to focus on leadership training always first. I have organizations call me up and say, Brad, we want you to come and do sales training or customer service training for us. My first question is, when was the last time your organization went through leadership development training? See, unless you get this part right up here, the rest of it is useless as lips on a chicken. It will not work. Sorry about that visual, by the way. But When you get the leadership part figured out, everything else happens. I will guarantee you, if I do customer service training for you and the leadership does not support that or understand it, the employees will revert back to their old behavior in 90 days. Guaranteed. Guess what the number one demotivator of employees is? Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy talk. We tell them you must treat every single guest with respect, but you don't treat them with respect. Hypocrisy. We do it all the time, which is incredibly unfortunate. So let's talk about what are some of the things to do. If you're going to sit down and strategically plan your business, if you're going to be more strategic about moving forward with your personal life, by the way, or your professional life or your career, you should actually plan both. If you're going to do that, one of the first things is, in a business especially, we're going to talk about right now, is you should, of course, define the core values of the organization. Why are the core values of your organization absolutely critical to your success? Any thoughts?
It's what you base your decisions on.
It's the principles and standards by which we all make a decision?
That's what people get. I mean, that's what they receive from you.
Yes. But the important part is that they need to be defined and well defined. See, these are the principles and standards by which every employee is going to make their decision. I've got personal core values: integrity, discipline, authenticity, gratitude. I've got those. Every decision I make in my life goes through those filters. If your employees don't know what the filter is, they're going to use their own core values, and that will not always work for you. So when you're actually trying to define what you want your employee behavior to be, you need to set the expectation. And that's one of the things that core values do, is it sets expectations for each person in your organization. You do not grow to the size of Amazon's or Zappos and those unless you've got employees that all think very similar. And so it reduces the amount of stress dramatically. Now, core values used to be just one word. That's the basics, the way they used to always be. One word things, again, integrity, teamwork, communication. However, we've lightened up a little bit and we've got a little bit more creative. Zappos, for example. They got, all these. They're simply statements. Deliver wow through service. Embrace and drive change. Create fun and a little weirdness. How's that? Be adventurous, creative, and open-minded. Pursue growth and learning. Build open and honest relationships with communication. Build a positive team and family spirit. Do more with less. Be passionate. Be humble. This is also Amazon locally. Customer obsession, innovation, bias for action, ownership, high hiring bar, and frugality. That means if you work for the organization, that is your focus. Every decision you make about purchasing, every decision you make about each interaction with each customer or guest, that's the filter you run it through. That's how you can grow your business rapidly and not feel tremendous pain. I just came back from Oklahoma for 9 days down in Oklahoma. Doing strategic planning for 9 casinos. 9 strategic plans in 9 days. Grueling, right? I knew it was time to come home, by the way, because my wife was with me. She woke up actually dreaming at night with a southern accent. I knew it was time to come home. The mission statement. Basically, when you create a mission statement, they need to be short and sweet, number one. But it answers the question, why do we exist? If somebody walked up to you and says, why does your organization exist? Could you answer that in approximately 1 sentence? Quick and easy and short. And that's the challenging thing, is trying to keep them short. I've worked with organizations and they're about 2 paragraphs long. They are useless. So a mission statement should be short and sweet. And also, the 2 biggest mistakes is we do not include our employees, we do not include our customers, and in some situations we don't include our community, and that's important as well. In other words, if your mission statement was on the wall of your business, would it inspire and motivate your customers that walk in your door? If it's in the back room above the door as the employees walk out to the floor, would it inspire them? Would it also inspire your community? As I mentioned, I just came back working down in Oklahoma. The mission statement, this is, by the way, I won't tell you the tribe that I work with, but to create an extraordinary experience for each guest. I was working they were casinos, and this is a tribal casino. To create an extraordinary experience for each guest, provide a fun and fulfilling environment for our associates, and to add value to the so-and-so nation and our communities. So again, it took 4 groups of people and said, you're valuable to us, and this is how we feel. So this is one of the things about a mission statement. Again, it should inspire and actually change behavior. The next one, which gets confused. I've seen mission statements and vision statements flipped upside down before. The vision statement is the aspirations of our future. What is it we want to become? The biggest mistake people make is they think too small. Instead of saying you want to be the largest accounting firm in Mount Vernon, why don't you say in Skagit County? Or why don't you say the state of Washington? Why do we think so small? Again, it's an aspiration for what we'd like to become. So just at least give consideration. Think big, don't think small. You want it to be, again, long-term visionary stuff. The SWOT analysis is not a mystery at all. It's simply you're looking at the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats of the organization. However, when you finish with this, basically you take a flip chart, you write down all the strengths of your organization, you write the weaknesses, write the opportunities, and the threats. What I do a little bit differently from most is after we write all the strengths down of your organization, I go around the room with however many people are there. If there's 20 people, I'll ask them, how would your guest rate you? If you say that your cleanliness is one of your strengths, I'm going to go around and ask, from the customer's perspective, how well do you think the customer rates you on your cleanliness? And we'll go around and get an average out of a scale of 1 to 10. And it's interesting, all of a sudden you look at it, it's a 7. The average feeling from the people in the room. We look at it from the employee's perspective. How do the employees feel about it? It's interesting, a lot of people put their strengths down, but when we go back and review it in that kind of method, you're going to find out that even though they might be a strength, there's a tremendous amount of work at the door. These are the things we're going to do, the 4 things that we're going to do to make that item no longer be a weakness. The next thing you need to do is put somebody's name down next to it. Who's responsible for doing that? Who's going to carry that mission or that step forward? And also attach a time frame to it. And we'll talk about that and the reason for that in a few moments here. The next thing is a unique differentiating factor. I've created 7 companies over 40 years. And every single company I started with the exact same philosophy in mind. If somebody was sitting across the table from me in a chamber event and they said, who's your competition? I could actually look at them with absolute authenticity and say, I don't have any competition. And here's the reasons why. How many of you can do that, by the way? Actually say, we have no competition. You do? Okay. If you've not raised your hand, you need to sit down and do some work and figure out how do you separate yourself from your competition so you have no competition. It's not easy to do for some of you because some of you are in commoditized industries. You're in banking, you're in real estate, you're in finance. So you have to get creative. Sometimes it comes down to customer service. But if you're going to tell me customer service is your unique differentiating factor, great. But tell me specifically, what is it you are doing to make us feel that way? I always use Les Schwab Tire Centers as a phenomenal example. I can tell you exactly what they do that makes their customers so happy. They'll run to your dang car. That freaks you out. They'll greet you with the car. They'll offer you free flat tire repair, whether you're a customer or not. They do free brake checking. They've got popcorn. They have coffee. They do all these wonderful things. They'll drive out the freeway and fix your tire for you and say, have a nice day. Drive carefully. So they can actually list all the things that makes them unique. And that's what I'm challenging you to do, is what are you going to do to go back, redesign your business so that you can actually say, we have none. And here is the reasons why. Service standards. Service standards, especially that are lofty. And that's the real goal. Core values set standards by decision making, but also, I want you to think about this. When the guest walks into your business and they step foot in it, what's the very first thing you expect your employees to do? How long do they have to get to acknowledge the customer? How long have they, actually in their mind, what are they thinking is reasonable? Is 15 seconds? Is 6 steps? Our Best Bank is 6 steps. You go to an Our Best Bank in Arkansas, when you walk in that bank, you will never get that 6 foot on the ground before you hear somebody look up and go, great to see you today. That's one of their standards. Again, might be the time. When someone says thank you to you, do you respond back with, oh, no problem? By the way, 20% of you do. When someone says thank you, or do you respond back with, it's my pleasure? Should that be one of your service standards? It's non-negotiable. Using the customer's name, even though you know their name, but do you use it? Bob, great to see you again. So is using the customer's name a non-negotiable service standard? So I would encourage you to write down the things that you expect of your employees, even if you only have one. Make sure that they know. Boundaries that are not clearly defined for your employees become painful. They become painful for the employee because they don't know where the boundaries are, and they become painful for you because you don't know how to manage those boundaries because they're not clear. So service standards, make them lofty, and make sure that they raise the bar, and the people walk out going, wow, that was awesome service. I will give you an example, matter of fact, of a restaurant. This is one of my new wow factors. This is down in Bothell, called Tandem Wine Bar. Have you ever been down there before? Tandem Wine Bar restaurant? You have been. Okay. Well, Lisa and Brad are the owners down there. And they've got a restaurant, and they're like any restaurateur, fighting to get the customers to come back in. Hard to uniquely differentiate yourself. My wife and I went there, just kind of we thought we'd try it. At the end of the dinner, service was phenomenal, but Lisa's ADHD. She's just like an Energizer bunny flying around the restaurant. But she was phenomenal. She was great. At the end of the meal, though, was when the shock came, the wow factor came, because I had a lot of portions left over. There was big portions. I had a pork chop. And so I said, could you get me something so I can take this home? She was absolutely. She took the plate that they served me on, went in the back room and put cellophane around it, and came back and handed it to me. And I said, I don't want to steal your plate. I just want the food. And they said, no, you keep the plate, you take it home, and if you want to drop it back off, just stop by and drop it off if you want, but you don't have to. I'm a man of integrity. You heard my core values. Integrity. I'm not stealing someone's plate. So what do? I get home the next day, I take it, put it in the microwave, warmed it up, and I ate it, and then I washed it, and I had it sitting by the front door. So this was now it's like Wednesday or Thursday. Every time I walked out the door, there's that plate that I think I've stolen. And so, I'm a man of integrity, so I talked to my wife, and I said, you know what, I gotta get this thing back. I said, how about if we go to dinner tonight? She goes, great idea, we went back. But guess what we walked out with? Another damn plate. Yep. We got 2 plates still sitting by the front door right now, waiting to go back, but I've been traveling for 9 days. Isn't that brilliance, though? Think about this. Here, take my $2 plate. Go ahead, have at it, And now they turn their customers, instead of 4 times a year, they turn them, about 52 times a year because we feel guilty. So that is what I'm talking about in terms of taking and having a unique differentiating factor and being innovative and creative and taking emotional risk, which a lot of us aren't willing to do. But that's where success is. The biggest risks do bring the biggest rewards. How am I doing here? I'm flying along. Oh, I'm doing really good. Their cheeks are all rolled back in their face in the room. Job description for everybody. Make sure that every single one of the people in your organization, even if you only have one, you clearly define their job responsibilities. As a matter of fact, I got an idea. Have them do it. You're busy. Show them how to pull out the Word document. Tell them, write down, please, for me, all of the job descriptions, everything that it is you do in my organization. Have them keep track of it. My last consulting firm, I had 35 full-time people. All of them were responsible for keeping track of their own. We had a shared document file, so every time they hit the save button, it got saved, and so I could see when it was. I actually would go in there once a quarter. I had on my Outlook remind me quarterly to go in and look at their job responsibilities and duties. If that file had not been opened in the last 3 months, I would go back to them and say, by the way, has anything new happened in the last 3 months? Will you please go and update it? I wanted to make sure that if any of my employees quit or if they got fired, that somebody could jump into that chair and just write down the list and take over and just seamlessly, effortlessly take over that role. So that's my encouragement to you again. Don't think small. Even if you've only got 1 or 2 employees, make sure their job descriptions are clearly defined. And especially the very last job description should always read, or any other duties as assigned. Right? You know that gets you, right? Yeah, when they say, you never told me I had to do that, you can go, yeah, I did right there too. So let's go look at, let's see. Oh, I jumped over service credo. Did I really? That's why I was going so good. I just bounced over one of them. I can see it on there actually. What am I doing here? Oh yeah, I did. There we go. Service credo. The service credo, Federal Express has the greatest one on earth. Absolutely, positively, overnight. It sets an expectation for the employees. It also sets an expectation for you as a customer. I don't know about you, but I've been in business for 40 years. I can only count maybe one time when Federal Express did not show up and deliver my package. And so for me, that's a great service credo because they live and breathe by it. You might have seen, I don't remember his name, it's another customer service trucker maybe. Somebody did a video with Federal Express and they showed an employee. Here was the story. The employee got to his last box. They had it's like a post office box, but it was for Federal Express. You drop the envelopes inside of it. They come around their truck, they open the box up, they take your mail out, and they head for the airplane. This one guy, this one driver, it was his last stop of the day. He had to head for the airplane to get these packages there. He got there, and for some reason, he could not find his key. He had lost the key to get this box open. And again, absolutely guaranteed overnight, he knew that. He went back to the truck and got a crescent wrench and unhooked the box from the ground, from the cement, and actually took the entire box and shoved the entire box inside the truck. He made the flight. You know? That's what you do. But it sets an expectation, again, for the customer and for the employees. So think about what kind of service credo. The one we came up with down in Oklahoma was always extraordinary, with a big exclamation point. So that's their brand now. When they talk about their food, they talk about gaming, it's going to be always extraordinary. In the employee break room, they got a mirror, and over the top of the mirror, because they're supposed to, make sure they're all sharp before they walk on the floor. It'll say, always extraordinary. So that becomes a service credo for them. So the question is do you have something that, again, sets expectations for everybody in your organization? And I think the service standards I already hit on. Written job descriptions we've hit on, and hiring right the first time, not settling. I hear so many organizations, their HR departments are just taking warm bodies and they're filling spots. Be very, very cautious of that. It's impossible for me as a trainer to come into your organization and train your people if you hire the wrong people for the job, right? A lot of you, and most of you actually in this room, you're in the relationship business. Do you agree with that? Yeah. If you're in the accounting area, you're in the accounting industry, but you're in the relationship business, don't kid yourself. If you work in the hotel, you're in the hospitality industry, but you're in the relationship business. We are all in the relationship business. If you want to grow your business, why aren't you hiring people who are good at building relationships? When you're hiring somebody, and you're looking at them, do I want to hire this individual? You have to ask yourself the question, is this person going to help me build relationships? Are they going to help me grow my business? Now that's not with every position, by the way, because again, if you're a CPA firm, you have a lot of people doing work, and again, it's not necessarily critical, unless they are, again, customer-facing. If I was going to have a surgeon, I want a surgeon who is really good at surgery, not necessarily building relationships with me. You know what I mean? So I'm letting some people off the hook, but in most cases, most of us are in the relationship business, and you want to make sure that you are looking for people who do that really, really well. You can do what my wife and I have done for 40 years is we do guerrilla recruiting, we call it, and it's not gorilla as in monkey, by the way. But we carry business cards in our wallet. We have business cards wherever we go. And so whenever we were in maybe a restaurant, we have a fabulous server, someone who's just dynamic and charismatic. I'd pull out my business card and I would hand them the card and say, would you be interested in a career with my organization? What was the most important word in that whole thing? Career, because a lot of people have jobs. And you don't have to pay them any more money, just because they'll come to work for you with not one dime more, but it's with the possibility of a career. So it's the best job interview ever, because you get to see them doing their job, right? It's a great opportunity to be able to see people at their best, or at least at what they're normally like. This is true if you're in a mall, you're out shopping. Again, just keep cards everywhere you go. You should be constantly recruiting, looking for good people for your business. Even if you don't have a position open today, build a file full of people who are just fabulous at what they do. Let's see, employee surveys. Well, we talked about it before. If you want to find out if your profitability is going up or going down, watch your employee surveys. Because your employee surveys are kind of a precursor to you having problems. If I see employee advocacy scores dropping, I do them annually for a lot of my clients. And what happens is when I see the employee advocacy score starting to drop, I will guarantee you right behind it is customer advocacy, and right behind that is profitability. It's a good key performance indicator that you've got impending doom coming very quickly. And normally when you see employee advocacy scores dropping off, that is a symptom, that is not a problem, what's it a symptom of? Poor leadership somewhere along the line, or decisions that we've made that have created challenges for our organization. Customer surveys, the same thing. Customer surveys, employee surveys. Also, by the way, make sure your employees get the results back. The biggest mistake people make is they do employee surveys and the employees never hear about it. The results are never broadcast. Then the next time you want to do an employee survey and the employees don't want to participate, you wonder why. Make sure that they get feedback very, very quickly. I was working with another casino down in the Olympic area. The new CEO, this is 5-6 years ago, the CEO said, he says, the biggest problem they had here is we can't even get them to participate. And I said, let's do things differently. Let's tell them, give them some incentive. We give them $20 meal certificate to everybody that participates. What I'll do is I'll turn it around for you in 1 week. And then and he says, I got an idea too. And I said, what is it? He goes, I'll show you when it's done. So anyhow, I brought the results down to him. He went down to Federal Express FedEx office. It was a 4-page summary I had given him. He took all 4 pages, blew them up to poster size, 6 foot by 3 foot, and put them on the employee lunchroom and said, here we are. Here's all the good, the bad, and the ugly. That transparency translated that CEO. They looked at him in a whole new light. He was brand new, so it's always hard, to get everybody's, love and admiration for you when you're new. But that one act alone just changed everybody's opinion of him almost immediately. They went, wow, this has changed, and we like it because we see transparency. Mystery shopping. I used to that was one of my companies, by the way. I own one of the largest mystery shopping companies in the United States. We would secret shop. You all know what secret shopping is? We go into your business, we act like we're customers, but we report back on the level of service that we experience. And so mystery shopping is a great tool because it gives you a third party's perspective. It gives you someone who's unattached to your business. The problem is when you send family or friends in, and if you decide you're going to use that to critique an employee, the employee's going to go, well, they hated me here for years. The owner doesn't like me. They've been trying to get rid of me. That's the tool they're going to use. Be very cautious about that because, again, when you use an outside company, and I don't do it anymore, so I'm not selling it, but when you use an outside perspective, the people who come in have no agenda. They don't care if you get, if your job is going to be. A good score is actually easier to give than a bad score from a mystery shopper's perspective. On a bad score, if you score them bad, it requires a ton more documentation to document the event. So it's one of those things that mystery shopping is a good tool, but it should be used as a tool to help employees grow, not as a beating stick, especially like that. SMART goals. This is Business 101. Nothing genius here, but I wanted to give you my perspective on one part of it. SMART goals, by the way, is when you set a goal for yourself, especially on a strategic plan. Make sure it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and it is timed. If I told you I was trying to reduce my stress, is that a SMART goal according to what you see up there? Is it specific? No, because what's causing my stress? That means it's not measurable, not achievable, I never attached a time to it. If I told you what was causing my stress was my desk. My desk is messy and it is disorganized, so what I need to do is I need to clean my desk between now and Sunday, and that will reduce my stress. Is that now a SMART goal? Yes, because it's my desk. It's very specific. It is also now measurable. I can see it. It is now achievable, and it's also, I said, by Sunday. That seems incredibly realistic. That's a SMART goal. But guess which one most of us in this room and most of our employees will not do up here? Which one do we fail to do? Time. Because we're afraid of failure. Yeah. We are also, that goes back to that book, 7 Steps to an Extraordinary Career in Life. We are so afraid of failure, rejection, humiliation, and embarrassment that we will actually sabotage ourselves and will sabotage many aspects of our life because we're so afraid of the possibility we will not succeed. So we won't put a time down next to it. I want to achieve $1 million in sales. When? Oh, someday. It's like the 8th day of the week that never shows up. You know what I mean? So be very cautious of doing that to yourself. That's actually a place where we tend to sabotage ourselves very, very easily. Also, in terms of meetings, I know we get over-meetinged, but make sure if you're going to have meetings, and you should, is make sure that they are really strong meetings. Otherwise, all the employees hear from you is blah, 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 blah. So make sure that they're structured. Make sure that you're talking 10 minutes about customer service, 10 minutes about new products, 10 minutes about the future, but spend 15 or 20 minutes listening to them. So often, employees feel like we're dictating to them because a lot of us in this room are about monologue. That's what we do. We tell people what to do. A great leader of people is all about dialogue. Dialogue is where we as leaders learn the most. Have conversations, and the only way you can have conversations is if someone is asking great questions. The biggest leadership tip I will give you is stay in the question-asking mode. Instead of walking up to an employee and saying, I want you to do this next time when you deal with a customer, is maybe walk up to them and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you think that last interaction went? And when they go, probably a 7, I'd say, I need you at a 10 though. So what are you going to do differently next time to create the 10? That's dialogue. They feel like they're participating in their future of change instead of feeling like victims of it. The other thing you should never do, by the way, is offer advice unless you're invited in. Never offer advice to anybody. Your children, your significant other, especially, and your employees. Make sure you're always invited in. If I want to offer you advice, I'm going to say, Brad, are you open for some feedback? I'll wait. When you go, sure, now I'll offer it to you. That's what we do. My wife, sometimes she'll come home. She'll come home sometimes and I'll just say, how was your day? And she'll just kind of like, just want to vent. She'll vent. 15 minutes later, I'll just calmly say, would you like any feedback about that? She'll go, nope. My wife and I have not argued or fought in 12 years. Swear to God, that's why. I'm smart enough to know to walk away. And also with training, training is not a journey. It's a journey, it is not a destination. Please make sure that when you give training, there's new hire orientation. That's what tends to happen. We give them, we give new hires feedback, and then we never give them hardly any feedback after that. We never train them. Make sure you're not just training stuff. Train on behavior. We teach them how to use the security devices, how to use the cash register, and how to handle inventory, how to take in the mail. We teach people how to do stuff. But as I mentioned earlier, it's our behaviors that really create the most benefit for us. So I would encourage you to do that. I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to, for the sake of time, go from there. Oh my goodness, not bad, isn't it? Huh? Great. Thank you. I wanted to let you know that I did bring, like I normally do, I brought some of my books. The Exceeding Customer Expectations book is available over here, and it is $20. And by the way, they're normally $24.95, all of them. I've got the ADD book, so if you think you're easily distracted, I got an answer for you. You might be. I've got this Speaking of Success, and I do have the Simple Steps to an Extraordinary Career in Life. This one actually is on special this month. It came out in my newsletter. It's actually $14.95, and that's only, of course, between here. Well, today actually, because I'm only going to be here today. And I do have that same thing in an audio program, so if you want it in your car very often, you can actually listen to it there. And all of my DVD sets, my training DVDs, it's me live in person, it's my live seminars, and these are available. This is also the Exceeding Customer Expectation Seminar, and so this is available. It's 2 hours long, and you just put people in front of a computer or a TV, and it's me training them. And you get unlimited worksheets. This is $350 normally, and is half price. And by the way, all my DVD sets are $350 right now. January 1st, they go up to $495. I've got Turning Managers into Leaders, which is 4 hours of how to teach people how to be leaders instead of managers. Big difference. And I've also got one over here on coaching, which is how to coach your employees, peers, and supervisor. It's about how we communicate effectively with our employees and allow them to be able to be successful. And I always offer the special. You can get all three of them, actually. All three of them together for $350. So if you're interested, you can get, for $350, you get all the training packages I've got. It's a good deal. So, are there any questions in the last... Oh, by the way, we take credit card, checks, cash, or I could invoice you, and I also take incredibly good wine. Not crappy wine, good wine. Any questions I can answer? Yes.
Frustration that I hear from employers right now is training the employees that are not coming into the workplace with any sort of a work ethic. It's a whole new generation.
Correct.
Who don't want to work.
Yeah, that's a whole new seminar, by the way. I've got that. Yeah, that's a whole new seminar, too. They are. And that's why it's more important than ever for us to take that role. Especially stuff like communication, the customer service basics. They're not getting them anyplace. If we don't give them to them, don't ever assume that when you hire someone, that they know all the things you know. That's the biggest thing. And if you hear about, well, I'll just let them use their common sense. Bad idea, There's no such thing as common sense anymore. So it's really important that we actually, as owners or managers or leaders of people, that we never assume anything. We walk them through every aspect of the things that really are important to them. More importantly, define what it is. That's the biggest failure in small businesses. We don't tell employees. We don't act like we're a big company. We try to act too small, and therefore we don't do a lot of the things that should be done. You will never grow. You won't grow unless you actually do some of these things that I talked about and act like a big company today. Make sense? Yeah, it looks like you got a question.
I'm thinking the state's training wage issue. And if everybody in this room could really talk to your legislators about putting in a training wage in our state, I think it will make a big difference.
Yeah, she ran before you got a chance. She got the heck out of here. She knew you were going to say something.
But you guys need to help spread that word that we need a training wage in the state because we have the highest unemployment for teens because people will not hire.
Okay, very good. Other questions I can answer for you? Anything else that I can? Customer service, leadership, motivation, or world peace? Barry.
So what's the hardest challenge you find if you have in business? The biggest challenge for you?
The biggest challenge? Oh, there's so many. I mean, geez, pick something. It's a tough question to answer for you because there are so many. Hiring great people. I mean, hiring good people. The biggest mistake that people make is not planning. They just don't. They're so busy. They're every day just trying to survive. They're just frantic trying to survive, and they forget to sit back and plan. That's my highest encouragement to everybody.